Hi, welcome to Jovie's home. So have you ever wondered what it's like to give birth in another country? Would you like to hear about some of the interesting and cool aspects of Dutch maternity and post-birth care? If that sounds good to you, then come on in, kick off your shoes and stay a while. I'm really glad you're here. So the first aspect of Dutch maternity care, where we need to start, is we need to talk about medical insurance. Medical insurance is mandatory in the Netherlands for everyone who is there. And if you don't sign up for your medical insurance, you will have to pay a fine. But Dutch medical insurance is actually quite excellent. The basic package covers most of what you would need for maternity care. You can certainly choose to have like a supplement, some extra packages that you can add on to your basic insurance, but in general, basic insurance will pay for most of what you need. And if not, then you have a deductible depending on what you choose. But in 2019, I believe that the statutory deductible is 380 euros, so you wouldn't necessarily pay more than that, anything out of pocket, if you needed to. There are many companies that offer health insurance in the Netherlands, but the basic package will be the same. Medical insurance for children under 18 is completely free, and they will be covered under the same package as what the parents have. So once your baby is born, they will have the same insurance that you have. The next thing, as it pertains to Dutch medical care in general, this is not specific to maternity, but when you're pregnant, you're gonna go to the doctor anyway, is that the first point of contact, the first person that you might see is your, what they call huisarts or home doctor, family physician. They are the main point of contact for you for any medical issues in the Netherlands. Normally, they are able to help you out with whatever you need, and if not, then they might give you a referral to see a specialist. In some cases, like when you are too ill to leave, they will actually visit you at home, which is something that's different that I'm not used to from the States. In the States, you have to go to the doctor. It's very rare that they will still come to your home. But in the Netherlands, it is possible that, if you're not feeling well and you really can't get out of your house to go see your doctor, they will come to you, which is kind of a thumbs up for Dutch doctors that come visit you at home. One thing that surprised me when I got pregnant in the Netherlands is that most pregnancies are actually followed by a midwife and not a doctor. Let's call me American for now, because I mostly grew up in the States. So that was kind of the system that that I still compare everything to. So I was expecting that when I got pregnant, I was going to see a gynecologist or an OBGYN, throughout my pregnancy, but that is not the case in the Netherlands. So most pregnancies are followed by a midwife. In my experience, the midwives have beautiful, homey offices where you can go and just feel comfortable. It's not as clinical as going to a hospital to visit the gynecologist, which is where most of the gynecologists work. But yeah, midwives are very experienced in birth in the Netherlands, and if you have the mindset of, I need to see a doctor for my pregnancy, that might come as a shock to you, because it came as a shock to me. And for my first child, I really strongly rejected having a midwife for the first, let's say, 7.5 months of my pregnancy. I did not trust midwives. Later on, come to find out, they are actually the much better choice if you have just a straightforward pregnancy. Of course, if you have complications or something, that's a different story. But if you have just like a regular, straightforward, normal pregnancy, a midwife is where you want to be. You are able to insist on going to a gynecologist if you want. I did. But be prepared that the gynecologist might not be that happy to see you. If you have just a simple, straightforward pregnancy, they will ask you, they've asked me, why are you here? Why aren't you at the midwife? What's happening? And every time, because you see a different doctor every time, I had to explain like, no, I'm American, I want to see a doctor, I don't want the midwife, and that was not really well received. However, once my pregnancy did become medical, because I was diagnosed as having gestational diabetes, then I did have a reason to see the gynecologist, and then things changed quite a bit. Then it was like, oh, okay, that's why you're here. Now it makes sense. But just for a straightforward pregnancy, definitely your best shot and your best choice would be to see a midwife. But as I said, you can insist on seeing a gynecologist. Something that surprised me is that there is no such thing as an elective C-section for your first child. In the Netherlands, you are not able to say, I just prefer to have a C-section. That is not the case. First-time mothers, you are going to have to try to deliver vaginally if possible. However, if something happens during the delivery, or if there is a medical reason before birth that you need to have a C-section, you can have one, but you cannot choose for it like you can in a lot of other countries. I ended up having an emergency C-section with my first one, and then with the second one, once you've had a C-section in the past, you are able to request a second one if you prefer it, because then there is a medical indication still for you to have a C-section. But the first time around, no, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I mean, birth is birth, right? So it's not unfortunately, you're gonna have a baby at the end. So just be prepared if you are pregnant for the first time and you have in your mind like, oh, I think I'm gonna have a C-section with this baby. The chances are it's not gonna happen. Pain relief is something also that I found surprising. The approach to childbirth in the Netherlands is much more natural, and that, you know, our bodies can do the work themselves, and, you know, we don't necessarily need pain relief. It's okay. Our hormones are helping us, and that's fine. But you should know, if you're coming from a country where pain relief is offered like M&Ms, that's not the case in the Netherlands. If you really strongly know already that you are going to want an epidural, you should start saying that to your midwife and as soon as possible, or your doctor, whoever you're seeing, throughout your pregnancy. Just let them know, make sure that it's in the file, make sure everyone is aware that you will be asking for an epidural. I have several friends of mine who, you know, have had the experience where they will go into labor and then they're saying, please, can I have an epidural? And then there's no anesthesiologist around, or they'll say, well, we have to wait a little bit more, and then you wait a little bit more, and then suddenly you've waited too long and now you can't have an epidural because the baby is coming right now. So the approach is not quite the same as in some other systems for epidural. So just because epidurals can be like so-so to get, that doesn't mean that you don't have other options. There are certainly other options for pain relief. Like you can get the I guess it's a morphine shot, or like a shot of something. There's a TENS machine. A lot of hospitals and birthing centers offer some kind of water-based pain relief, whether that is that you can labor in a birthing pool, or, you know, you can stand in a shower. Those are actually great options, and that is supported, and, you know, you have that. Also, there's hypnobirthing, but that's something that you do before you're in labor, that you prepare for. And then another option for you, which it's gonna sound strange that I'm talking about it in the pain relief category, but certainly helped me so much during my first labor, was having a doula. And if you are able to afford that, because that is not something that's covered under any kind of insurance scheme, if you can have a doula with you at your birth, I really strongly suggest it, because that made my first birth, which could have been extremely traumatic, and we'll talk about that maybe another time when I share my birth story. Doula is incredible, and she was there with my husband and I the whole time, and they have tips and tricks. You know, you have a ball, there's like so many different options and things that you can do, and a doula is really there to help you. And with massage or breathing, that pain relief is quite effective. I was able to labor until I was almost 8 centimeters dilated, and I did not feel the need to ask for pain relief until maybe the very, very end. So that was an excellent source of pain relief for me. In terms of places where you can give birth, I was quite surprised when I found out that in the Netherlands it is still pretty common. I mean, it is losing popularity, but it is still quite common to give birth at your own home. So the midwife would come to you and you can give birth at home. That is an option. Another option is that you can give birth in a birthing center, or you can have an elective hospital birth. That is certainly available. And if you're coming, well, not just if you're coming as an expat, but for everybody, there are tours available of hospital birthing centers and hospital birthing floors, I guess, maternity wards. You can have a tour of one of those before you decide where you'd like to give birth, and if you'd like to give birth there, to kind of get a feel of what the rooms look like. And if you are certain that you would like to have something, like I really hoped for a water birth for my first son, it was important to me that the place where I would give birth had a birthing pool. So that's kind of cool that you can have those tours, have a look, and see if the amenities that you're looking for are available in the place that you're looking at. If you do give birth in a hospital, and if everything is just a normal, straightforward vaginal birth with no complications, be prepared that you might be discharged just like a few hours later. There is no spending the night. There is no, 2 days of waiting in the hospital with you and your baby. Nope, if you're fine, your baby's fine, you go home. That was shocking to me when I went for, this tour of a hospital that we were looking at, and they were saying, if everything's fine, you're gonna go home. And all the expats were like, hello, what's happening if I have birth in the middle of the night? And we're like, no, you still just go home. And the reason for that is what's called a kraamzorg. And that is to me, that is the most interesting and phenomenal part of the Dutch maternity care. That is, you know what, let's get into that now. Once your baby is born, if you've had just a normal vaginal delivery and everything's fine with you and everything's fine with the baby, you will be discharged and go home after just a few hours. This is because in the Dutch system, there is something very unique and really incredible, and I wish that this was in other systems too, like in all over the world, and that is what's called a kraamzorg. And I guess translated, that means kind of like after birth healthcare, but it's a nurse who specializes in after birth care, postpartum care. The kraamzorg will come to your house and she will help you and your partner learn what it is to be a parent if it's your first time, and if it's not your first time, they're there to support you in whatever ways you need. Basically, she is an angel that comes to you and helps you for the first, I think, 5 to 8 days, depending on your need. They come and they help you with things like teaching you how to change a diaper, teaching you how to bathe a child, a newborn. They weigh the baby on a daily basis to see how he or she is growing. They help you establish breastfeeding if you're choosing to do that. They can help you, with questions about everything, what is a normal color of poop for a baby? Like whatever questions you have, like big or small, it doesn't matter. The kraamzorg is there to help you. They also do wonderful, magical things like let you have a nap, while you'll feed your baby, for example, and then there's, a period of a couple of hours, and she will say, now is your turn, go have a nap. I will take care of your baby. Or she will help you maybe do a little bit of light grocery shopping. She will clean your bathtub or your shower if you're having a shower there, wherever the mom is using. They will clean it every day, so you have a nice, clean, fresh place to go. They also clean your toilet every day, so you have a nice, clean, fresh place. The Dutch kraamzorgs are really, really special. And I hope that is something that always stays part of the Dutch maternity system, because I, as a first-time mom, had no idea about anything. You know, I didn't grow up with a lot of kids in my family. So if you gave me a baby and said, change this diaper, honestly, I would have had no clue. Or how to bathe something so small and fragile, you know? But these people come and they teach you and they help you, and they are incredible. So that is definitely a wonderful, wonderful thing that you can have. If you prefer not to go home, there is something called a geboorte hotel or a birth hotel. And that is a place where once you're discharged from the hospital, you can go and stay with your partner. It's like a birthing hotel. And you can stay there for the whole time that you have the allowance of the kraamzorg. Or you can stay like 1 night or 2 nights. You can kind of mix and match. So you can have some days when you're in the hotel, and then other days when you are at home and have somebody come into your home. So this is also like something that you can think about and see what you like, and you can do like a tour of some of these birth hotels and see if that's a place that you would like to go while you recover and learn about mothering, I guess. The geboorte hotel, it's a really cool option if, for example, your baby comes earlier than you expected and you don't have things ready. I'm not talking about super, super premature children who need to stay in the hospital, but just, somebody that comes a bit earlier and maybe you don't have your crib set up and you don't have like all the things ready. So you can go to a place where they have already everything for you, and then you can have some help from whoever to get your house ready so that once you go there, it's all ready. I have a friend who they were doing renovations on their house and they were not ready to go to their actual house with the baby, with the newborn. So they ended up going to a wonderful birth hotel for the entire duration of her kraamzorg time, and they had a good experience with that. So this is also an option while you recover, while you learn, while you get stronger, somewhere that you can go and have help. If for whatever reason you end up having a C-section, you will end up spending like 2 to 3 days in the hospital afterwards. And these 2 or 3 days will count as part of your kraamzorg time. So let's say that generally if you have a C-section, you will have 9 days of kraamzorg. And you spend 3 days in the hospital, that means that you will have 6 days of support at home. But this is also, something that is excellent because you are in the hospital and the nurses there are teaching you all the things that you need to learn. Well, if it's your second or third or, not your first child, you probably know a lot of the things, but it's very nice. It's a very supportive, pleasant way to have a child. So once you're at home and you're settled, and maybe you didn't go to the birth hotel, so let's say that you just gave birth in a hospital and then you came home, the kraamzorg will come and she'll meet you there anytime, day or night, for the first day. She will make sure that you're settled, that your baby is settled, that you kind of know what you're doing the first night, and then she will come back the next day at like a more reasonable time, like at 8 in the morning or something. Depending on the company that you choose for your kraamzorg, you might have one person for the entire duration, or you might have multiple people during the duration. This is something you can discuss with them at your intake appointment, what your preferences are. You can say like, I want somebody who speaks English, or I would like a Spanish speaker, or I would like to have somebody who does not smoke, or we have a huge dog, so it's important that my kraamzorg is not afraid of dogs. So these kind of things that you make it clear during your intake appointment, and then the company will try to kind of, give you the best person for your situation. And then the kraamzorg, it's so beautiful what they do. They have a book, and every day that they come and they weigh the baby, they'll like write down the weight. They'll write how much, how often is the baby eating, how the child is growing. They monitor the mother as well. So they'll check like your stitches if you have any. They'll ask you, you know, how you're doing, and they can be a liaison in case you do unfortunately need to go back to the hospital or something happens. They're there to let you know. But in addition to having the kramzorg, you will also be visited at your home by a midwife. So even if you have had a hospital birth, you will still have a midwife that will come after the birth to your house. And what they do there is they'll do the baby's first blood tests there. They'll do what they call a heel prick. So they'll take the baby's little foot and, you know, do a little blood test through the foot. They will also check the mom, they check the baby, they see how you're doing emotionally, physically, mentally. The care is really like 360 degrees. So yeah, you'll have your midwife and your kramzorg around coming to take care of you and baby. And it's a very relaxed, nice way to welcome a new life into the world and to have, you know, an experience to have, so that you can really focus on getting strong enough to take care of your child. If let's say if you had a C-section and you're recovering, so it's really supportive and wonderful. So that kind of covers the basics of Dutch maternity care and what it's like to have a baby in the Netherlands. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I will do my best to respond to them as much as I can. But I also want to know, if you are not considering having a baby in the Netherlands, if you're anywhere else in the world, what's it like to have a baby where you're from? What's the system like? Are mothers and children cared for this way, or is it more like you're kind of on your own? So yeah, let's continue this discussion in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming over. I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye. Oh my God. I almost broke my new